Giving this a shot. All right. Hi, James. So this is what I was talking about with a plank progression that could lead to an actual arm balance. And so I didn't plan this out, nor do I ever, but start with the plank that's the most comfortable plank for you. I think it's when your hands are together and you have a triangular form of forearms where your forearms are not wider than your shoulders, but your hands are more narrow. I think that's your favorite plank version. And so come to that plank. Make sure, first of all, that you bolster up with anything that'll keep your forearms comfortable during this time. And let's go. So you're in your plank. You can come to it from like a child's pose or a tabletop position. And you probably already do stuff like this. So if you do, you can kind of skip this part and just challenge your plank. So bend one knee and straighten, bend the opposite and straighten, and go back and forth a few times. Maybe just with the feet about hip distance apart. You can also start to drop to the feet, keeping the arms stable and the chest and shoulders stable. Drop to one side of the heel and then drop to the other side and go back and forth with that. And taking a rest whenever you need to. So it could be, in a forearm extension, or it could be in a tabletop flexion extension, a child's pose, or a downward facing dog. And then come back to the arms that work best for you with your plank, and start to lift your hips up and let them down. Back to regular plank. Lift them up and back down to regular plank. So it's sort of like a forearm, modified forearm downward facing dog to a plank. With this, you never really get your footing. So just keep the legs situated for plank and shift your hips up. And I'm not dropping my head, but drop your head all the way down. Look forward, line up your neck, drop your head all the way down, look forward, line up your neck. Go back and forth as many times as it's challenging for you. And then move towards being able to do that plank on the arms with parallel arms. So all of those same things do with your thumbs around the edge of the block and your elbows in. So you might need to set your elbows more narrow because they're going to try to roll out. So get your elbows as close as they can be, so that when you kind of roll on your skin, you don't end up going too far beyond shoulder distance apart. If they go a little wider, that's fine. And do all of those same plank options with learning how to keep your hands flat to the floor, your wrists turning towards the floor, and the elbows in. So bend one knee at a time, flip side to side on the feet, go back and forth to a forearm downward facing dog. And once your arms get a little bit more comfortable here, the way I've been having you come into side plank is by starting with the arms parallel, the feet about hip distance apart, taking, let's say, the left hand to the right elbow, so it's parallel to the top of your mat, coming down onto the edges of the feet, taking the hand on the hip or the arm to the sky, and doing a little drop and lift. So you're exaggerating a little side sway here, and then you're exaggerating the opposite. And then eventually going back and forth a few times and settling into what feels neutral. And then doing the other side. So taking a break if you need it, come to parallel arms, set your plank, take your right hand to your left elbow, come onto the edges of the feet, hand to the hip or sky or even overhead if you want, and a little down and up, down and up, down and up until you settle in the middle and hold. And then eventually come into parallel arms if you can and take a rest. An additional variation of this is that you do the exact same thing to come into side plank, but you start with your feet together so they're touching. That way, when you fall onto one edge of the foot, your other foot has to come on top. So you're just on one edge of the foot. So you're in your stable parallel arm plank. You take your left hand to your right elbow. Sorry, your feet are together. You can leave your right hand on the floor and then set your feet so they're on top of each other. And then you could do a little up and down. You could just hold steady. Arm can be anywhere. I want to see if you can float up your top foot. Okay, so that would be the next variation, coming to a rest or switching your sides. And those are some good plank modifications and variations to get you really comfortable on your forearms. What we did the other day, and this might not be relevant right now, is you want to have that parallel, you want to be able to hold your arms parallel, and you may eventually, maybe we could have like insert a session at some point once you feel like you're ready to do what's next. And you can hold the block when you do this, or you can practice not holding the block. It's gonna take a lot of shoulder stability and flexibility at the same time. What I had you do last time is do this plank to downward facing dog, but then start to walk the feet a little closer. My mat, this isn't a good mat for this, and then lift the right leg and put it down. Lift the left leg, put it down. The knee could be bent to do this, just so you can try to get your shoulders right over your elbows and eventually get your hips right over that. So stacking. And then eventually you're lifting up both legs one at a time. And I didn't realize how slickery this mat is. So when you get to that point, I'll show you some different ways that you can transition to taking the second leg up off the floor, but this isn't stable enough today. So, and maybe some of this is really familiar to you, and maybe really the only difference is that we're trying to train the arms to be in this position instead of this position, but give that a try. And what's today? Thursday? Yeah, I'll see you on Friday, which is tomorrow. Bye.